So let's talk about cross-site scripting in great detail, and this is for beginners. So cross-site scripting is a thing that was very widespread back in the days. Now these days browsers got a lot of mitigations implemented in them, so you cannot execute your scripts cross-site, which is what cross-site scripting is all about. Basically saying that you should not be able to send data from your site to another site. You shouldn't be able to request or receive requests from other sites through JavaScript. Of course, there can be some circumstances where you need to do that, but that is another talk. That is another day. Today we're going to talk about vulnerabilities, cross-site scripting, what can be done with it, and why is it actually still a thing. So let's talk about the modern frameworks of development these days. Now, web developers do have an easier time when developing code these days compared to the old days, because now the frameworks actually handle cross-site scripting a lot better. But that also means that when things are handled for you, you forget about it and you will not think about it anymore. So at some point when you're going to do some extra third party, some code out of the framework to fix legacy code or something like that, maybe another system not running on that framework, you might end up creating a vulnerability because you don't know that you are opening up for the vulnerability of cross-site scripting. I have a website right here, something that I just casually found called XSS Game on appspot.com. So we can go ahead and just start up with this. So let's click the button here. The very first challenge is a standard website where we can enter something in a query. Let's type test, and you will see that being reflected on the GET request, or you call it the URL, which is the same as this one up here. Then this is just an in-browser iframe URL. All right, so you can go ahead and try one more time. Now, what we need to do here is to execute an actual JavaScript. So let's go ahead and just type script and enter script tag. And to perform a standard alert, just do alert and do nothing in it. Copy paste it. If it doesn't work the first time, try and press the button. If you see a pop-up like this one right here, well, it kind of just tells us that we succeeded executing this code. So you can advance to the next level right now. The problem here is happening because we have a query, and that query is being reflected back to the screen. So basically reflected cross-site scripting as the first vulnerability of cross-site scripting. It's basically just all about that you send some data from the client to the server sends the data back, and that is why it's reflected. So ding, dang, reflected, that is the way. Now, why do the servers do that? Well, they don't. The programmer decides to echo back, send back the result. So you can say like, so a standard, search page, result page, whatever you call it, search functionality with a formula, with a button and search for this and that, is usually a GET request, because you can bookmark a GET request. By pressing Ctrl-D in a browser, you can bookmark it. So I can bookmark, just as I did right now here, Ctrl-D, I can bookmark this. So what it bookmarks is actually the URL, okay? And that is the thing. So if you're going to use a search page and you want to bookmark the search you did, well then it's going to be saved in the URL, and that's it really. Now, cross-site scripting is particularly dangerous, so you can steal stuff. Cookies, for example, your login cookies, your session cookies, your JWT tokens, or JOT, gonna call them that, tokens. You can steal data, you can execute functionalities for another user, making them delete themselves, do something, spam something on websites, post illegal content, whatever I can call it, on other websites, or do commercial stuff on the site itself, or you can just spy on the actual computer. In some occasions you can take over the browser, take over the machine, and there can be many things done. Commonly, cross-site scripting is used for spamming and stealing login tokens. Anyways, let's get right away to the next challenge, and this is going to be another type of cross-site scripting. It's going to be called stored cross-site scripting. When things are stored, it basically means that the script is being stored, for example, in AKA a blog post like this. So you have something like, and you can do a comment, and that comment is going to be saved on the backend. Let's go ahead and do the test. So you can see that, okay, I wrote test. So if I went ahead and did something like, let's try, the same thing as before, just do a script tag and you put it in, you'll see that this is not gonna work, right? So there are many different things that can happen in the backend compared to how the script is actually being interpreted. You can also go ahead and click the button here, and you can see the source code inside of it, and then you can see how things are created. I don't think you can see the actual website, stuff that I just posted with test. It doesn't seem like this that good of a view page source functionality, so let's just take it away. Now, this is not a video on evasion. I'm just talking about the actual general thing about cross-site scripting. In this particular case, you can do either what you call a script tag, cross-site scripting attack, where you actually put script tags in and you're going to write some JavaScript. Now, again, this is not a small course about how you can exploit it. This is just an actual showcase of how to trigger it, how to generate it, and depending on the filters in the back of the system, looking at the code that I'm putting in, this is actually code, well, it can be different from site to site. In this particular case, we can do either script injection or we can do what you call inline JavaScript injection. Inline JavaScript injection is different compared to this one, where this is just a standard script being executed. You can also do something like an image tag and say we have a source file, and on error, you're gonna do an alert just like that, and you're gonna execute that. If you go ahead and save this, you can just like hello, like doesn't really matter, and you share it, you will get a pop-up. And every time you reload the page, and get the same pop-up one more time, right? And that is the thing behind this, because you are doing stored cross-site script. So you store that JavaScript on the backend in the database, and the database then, every time you reload the page, it will load the comments from the code in the backend, roll it back to you, and send that saved data directly back to your browser, which will result in a JavaScript, and that will be executed in your browser. So one more time, you can do the same thing. You can execute JavaScript, and you can steal people's data, session tokens, JWT or JOT tokens, whatever, and so on. Now, I want to show you a document where I wrote down some stuff about what is stored cross-site scripting, what can it do, what can it do. The same thing for reflected, so you can just basically go ahead and pause the video and read about reflected. And then we have this called DOM-based cross-site scripting. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. It is the most confusing part of cross-site scripting is what they call DOM-based cross-site scripting, because you don't need interaction with the actual server side in order for this to be done. Okay, so let's talk about this. Reflected cross-site scripting requires the server to take the data from the front end and send it back. So you need a backend or server, whatever you're going to call it, for this to work. Stored cross-site scripting requires the data to be stored on the server's database and sent back to you. DOM-based do not require that. You can have that because you have some JavaScript executing some code, and that JavaScript can actually also execute itself in some way, and that's gonna open up the vulnerability. So also you can manipulate the DOM environment, the client browser, execute without server-side interaction. Payload doesn't go to the server. Exploit vulnerability in client-side scripting. Also paid content, perform any action that user can perform. Capture user data, bypass traditional server-side security mechanisms, and so on, so on, so on. Now I want to be clear about this. JavaScript cannot bypass server-side validation. Server-side validation cannot be bypassed on the front end. Don't take it for this. This basically just means that if you have some server-side validation, or you also have some client-side validation, and you rely on either front end or back end, well then in this particular case, maybe you are lucky, you can bypass it. But I'm just saying, it's not like you can bypass server-side logic in the front end. That's not possible. Okay, that would be a major security flaw. All right, so I think we kind of covered the 3 different types of cross-site scripting. We covered in a tutorial. I'm not really sure that, you know, this one is gonna have any DOM based at any point, you know, so this is just another fun little tutorial you can go ahead and follow. So I want to say I'm gonna post a link to this game in the description below, so you can go ahead and try it out. And if you have any questions about cross-site scripting and, well, what it can do, please write your question. I'm gonna respond back to it, and really, you know, like the video if you like it, become a subscriber, join the club if you want to do that. You know, it would be really nice to have you on board. So just gonna say, see you again online, have a really nice day, and stay happy hacking. There you go.